Zeina Habib is one of them. On this episode of Giant TV, I sat down with Zeina. We chopped it up all about her business, how she's helping executives, management teams at companies with communication. You guys see this. This woman has amazing energy. She has an incredible backstory. You are instantly going to be gravitating towards Zeina. I loved it. And check it out. Hi, everybody. This is Paul Hitchcock. I am the founder and president of Giant TV, Giant Jacks Media, I should say. This is Giant TV, my media channel, where I am really lucky to have incredible people that come on here. And Zeina Habib, who is here, is one of them. Hello, Zeina.
Hey, Paul, how are you?
I'm doing great. Yeah, and I just really excited to have our listeners hear what you're doing. You are an entrepreneur, business coach, and trainer for
Yes.
businesses, doing some amazing things out of the greater Boston area. Tell us what you're focused on.
So my work is a lot into embodied leadership coaching. It's a lot about how can you use your mind and brain to make yourself, more confident to be able to create connection and better relationship and grow within your business, lead people better, lead your teams better. I think the biggest thing I feel is people tend to focus a lot on the mind stuff. They come to you and they're trying to analyze everything, and we forget the
Yeah.
bodily stuff and how much our body affects us even in the business, how we stand, how we talk, how we show up, and how we deal with our emotions that are kind of showing up within our bodies. So I try to help people connect both in order to be able to move forward, in order to be able to grow. And because a lot of the blockages is coming from that stuff in our lives, from the fears, from the mental blockages that we have.
So that's very interesting. So you mean when you're dealing with these are owners of businesses, entrepreneurs that you're working with, and there's what is the problem where they're seeking out your help? Is it communication? Is it the culture? Is it the way they're leading? Like what are the specific things they're focused on?
Of course. So when it comes to owners, sometimes it's about their own leadership styles, and sometimes it's their own managers' leadership styles.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, you have an idea, you have a great idea that you want to come true. You're very smart, you're an engineer, you're technically good. But
Yeah.
all of that doesn't get you anywhere if you can't get other people to do the things that you need them to do, if you can't get them to collaborate, if you can't communicate well. So the biggest thing I see is communicating within teams, like communicating with their own teams, communicating down and up, depending on the level of the manager, if it's not the owner, and then communicating outside of the company and able to be able to negotiate correctly in order to be able to get more stakeholders. And for people who are technically strong, these
Yeah.
things don't come intuitively.
True, true. Yeah. Yeah, no, well said. And communication is so interesting to me because in a lot of senses, do you agree with this? The art of communication, listening is dead in a lot of ways. People don't listen so well. I imagine you get into that too, because effective communication has got to be close this, open this, right? I mean, tell me how you talk about that.
So a lot of the work starts within the self. When the first, I have pillars within my program, and the first one, since you mentioned that, is listening,
Yeah.
and it is listening to ourselves, to our bodies, to our own thoughts. And at the same time, being able to listen to others is how can I hold space in that moment to my biases? Because let's say you come here right now and you tell me, I don't know, stand up. When you're saying that word to me, there is someone inside of me reacting. So if I'm not aware of that, if I'm not listening to it, I will be reacting to you instead of taking a moment, understanding what it is you're trying to tell me, and be able to respond from that centered space. So for me, this is the first thing to learn. How do you listen to your own body, thoughts, and the other person's body and words in order to be able to communicate effectively and not just react?
What are effective listening skills? Is it asking follow-on questions? Is it what is there a main thing involved in effective listening?
Yes. So I think the first step in effective listening is training yourself to understand your own body's reaction and the other person's body's reaction, and listening to the words and what is being said behind. So
Yeah.
simply completely just not saying anything and being present, like realizing when a person's moving forward, a person's moving backward, how you are changing as you're having this conversation. This
Yeah, yeah.
comes as level one. Level two, and this may be for sometimes people start with it because it is a bit easier. It's simply taking the last few words a person is saying and then following up on that, asking more question.
Yep.
In this section, I always say the first tool to use is train your mind to be a beginner. So if you're talking to me right now about playing the piano,
Yep.
my job is to imagine that I don't even know what a piano looks like.
Yep.
I don't know
Yep.
what it
Yep.
is, and then go from there to ask you a question because it takes away the judgment, it takes away my bias, and it takes away the assumptions that could make this communication unclear.
Okay, when you're talking about body language and effective communication, I feel like I'm being judged by you right now. I'm nervous. Don't move. I just moved. I don't know what does that mean? Am I not listening well?
I love your energy. I feel so comfortable by like the way you're showing up today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I try hard. No, but what you did say resonates with me because you said, yeah, ask the following questions of the last thing they said. People don't do that. I just see in a business environment and other environments, people just talk at each other, and it's just like noise and people are just spewing at each other. No one's really digesting anything. You go into a group of people and say, oh, yeah, I just went on a vacation to, Northern, Ireland. And they go, oh yeah, I was there too 10 days ago. And they start talking. And what, ask me some questions about this over here. That's listening, right?
And it's not just that. It's like if we're talking right now and you come to me with a request,
Yeah.
sometimes your request is not really what you need. It could be a lower level of things behind it. You may just want to make sure that your team is being protected. You may not need whatever it is that you're asking for. And if I can get you to say, if I can listen clearly, I may be able to give you that without going to the first thing you're telling me if we're in disagreement. So if you need me, for example, to give you more funding, I'm saying anything right now.
Yeah.
If you're asking for more funding and I'm only focusing on that because I can't give you funding, but what you really need is more resources, but I have someone who can support you and then I can give you that, then I'm not listening if I don't get to that very lower need of yours, which
Yep.
we could
Yep.
actually meet on.
Yep.
So how do we learn to listen, to give the other person their needs and to actually provide that instead of just talking and like looking at the very first level, which sometimes gets us nowhere.
Yeah. No, excellent, excellent input. And Zaina, how did you, obviously you're not shy. I mean, you've got a big personality and, you're a communicator. Did you grow up in that environment where you come from a family that's like that, or did you learn it, or how did you get to where you are?
So I think my circumstances and how I grew up in Lebanon where everyone speaks on top of each other, where people, I mean, it's a cultural thing. People have
Right,
big
right, right.
personalities over there and I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah.
But it's at the same time, it became very hard to have civil conversations. And that was my point. I did not want to get to that point. I said that is not the person I wanted to be. So I started investigating, taking, trainings. And when I did that, they were like, you are good at this stuff. Do you want to
Hmm.
train with us? Do you want to work with us? Not just, take the training. And I started getting into it. And then I started to realize how a lot of people need sometimes someone to listen to them, how a lot of people think that they are alone or unheard. And it kind of
True.
grew. And I'm a dancer, so I do a lot of body movement. And I started to realize how much of all of these things are interconnected and important.
Hmm.
Um, and I just flew into it. I'll tell you one thing. I am not always the greatest listeners. I am not always the greatest person at communicating. And this makes me actually better because I know the flaws. I know where I trip and I can see it in myself and I can help others also recognize it in themselves.
You're not perfect? Oh, jeez.
No.
God,
I wish I
unbelievable.
was.
Unbelievable. Damn, you break my thought. A dancer. Well, I gotta ask you, dance, what kind of dancing?
So I do Latin dancing. I do salsa, bachata, and zouk.
Wow. Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that. Well, YouTube videos and stuff. It's very cool. So tell me, what type of businesses are you working with, and what does that initial interaction look like? You go in there, you're meeting with the management team, the owners. What happens there?
So I've worked with a lot of tech companies. I think it's where it's most advanced when it comes to communication and people wanting to change and move forward. And
Yeah.
in that world, the thing is that everything's changing quickly. Entrepreneurs within the tech world, every day is different. And if you don't learn to communicate in this very fast-paced world, and if you don't learn to cope with your emotion in this very fast-paced world, you get burnt out quickly. I
Oh
think
yeah,
that was
yeah,
the biggest thing.
yeah.
For certain companies, it's just, managers that I've worked with through previous contracts that know that I do this work, then they reach out to me and then I just go and I start working with them. And I usually start with one manager, see how they're going, and then we move from one to the other. It's nice to start up and then go down just because that's how, the change happens when people start seeing their managers doing better, they want to grow too.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think I've been also working a lot with mid-level sometimes because it's hard when you have someone in startups. What people do is they move quickly from a technical role to like an executive role.
Oh yeah,
And that's a lot of pressure. And these
yeah,
people could cause your company to fail if you're not putting them at a place where they can really communicate well. So I
yep.
think these are the areas that you really need to focus on right now in this world because they get overwhelmed quickly from moving to something super technical that they're really good at to like managing big teams because they are the only people available in this very fast growing startup.
So that's a great point because the communication in those two different departments, the technical department versus you're now managing people, oceans apart. Could be oceans apart, right?
Very, very different because,
Yeah,
they start the, it's very funny because people come to me and they're like, I don't know what to do. How do I get them to do things? How do I delegate? What is this person like? And the first thing I say, like, did you ask? And they stay, like, they look at me, they're like, no, ask,
you mean
like
ask the
ask
team,
these
ask the
people.
team, ask the team
Yeah,
you're talking about? Oh yeah,
ask
yeah,
your
yeah,
team, like
yeah,
talk to them because people come in and they don't know that they're supposed to do that. They're usually used to doing the work on their own laptop. They find the answer logically, through working. But
yeah.
in this kind of work, there is no working. You have to have these conversations. You have to listen to what people are telling you. And this is a completely different skill set than just actually doing the work yourself. When you're a manager, you're letting go of the work and then your job is to push others to do their job and not do it for them, which is
Hmm.
very different.
Okay, so this is great stuff. I want to tell everybody listening. So wherever you're watching this, because we're live streaming this on X, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, I don't know where it's going to go out to a lot of places, but Zaina's information is going to be up here, down here. Get connected to her for sure. And Zaina, if someone wants to talk to you, do you have an introductory session you do, or you get on Zoom or something? Do you offer that?
Yeah, I always offer 20-minute introductory sessions for
Yeah,
people for me to know if they could be a good fit for me and for them to know if they want to work with me. That's
yeah.
just the way I do things.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, thank you for being here. I mean, I'd love to track your progress. We could talk about this for hours, but awesome. Thanks, everybody. And again, thanks, Zaina.
Yeah, of course, it was great talking to you.